Well, hello again. Happy Sunday, beautiful people. It is so good to be here with you on this Sunday. I'm excited about this message. Of course, I'm excited about this series and where we have already begun and where we're continuing. And so I would love if you could join me in our centering prayer. If you could repeat these words after me. I welcome the Spirit of truth into my mind and let it grow in my heart. Thank you, God, in, through, and as me. Amen. Ashe. And so it is. Yes, yes. Well, of course, I love to review a bit of where we started so that it supports us and where we're going. And so we started in week 1 with the first condition of a miracle, which is emptiness. And that sermon was Spirit Abhors a Vacuum, recognizing that emptiness is about creating space for God to fill, because the truth is that it is God's nature to fill space. And so wherever we create emptiness, we can be guaranteed that it will be filled by Spirit. In week 2, last week, welcome everything in, we looked at the second condition, which is alignment. And alignment is really about understanding what true compassion is. I talked about misguided compassion last week. And it's also a recognition of the spiritual principle of welcoming everything in. That we recognize that one of the secrets to answered prayer is welcoming everything in. That we don't push against things. We don't push things away, but we operate in this beautiful law of non-resistance. And we welcome all things in because we have emptied ourselves and are now connected to source and spirit. And so we can actually see beyond our own needs. And it is there in that place and from that place that we can practice compassion and actually begin to experience and practice miracles as we read Jesus healing the sick in that space and in that moment. So this week we're talking about the third condition. And the third condition is asking. So if you're taking notes, you want to write that down, right? First condition is emptiness. Second condition is alignment. Third condition is asking. And this condition should be familiar to most of you. The third condition is what you've heard me call and what I teach, the thing under the thing. Right? And the thing under the thing is, it's simple. When you want to manifest money, you're not really manifesting money. You're manifesting the experience or outcome that money as a tool will support you in demonstrating. And so you learn to put your focus of your attention on the thing under the thing, because many times if you need $10,000 in a few weeks and you've never manifested $100 in a few weeks, it may seem improbable and it may seem impossible. But when you put your focus on the thing under the thing, you're taking your focus off of the money, putting the focus on the experience, and it actually becomes easier to demonstrate, right? And if that's new information to you, you're welcome, because this is now going to make your demonstrations and your manifestations much easier. You all may recall that in May, as we were closing out the Law of Abundance series in the sermon, Make Your List of Demands, I shared a story from our very own community, from a member of Soul 21, who wrote us to let us know about a powerful manifestation that she had experienced. And it was after hearing me talk about the thing under the thing last year. And so she recognized that while she had her dream list and she had written out a lot of things as I had walked everyone in doing through last year, when she revisited the list, she realized that she wanted to tap into her thing under the thing, which would make that manifestation more powerful. And so she wrote, I want to do the work I love and get recognized and rewarded for excellent teaching. She said, I added a note about the thing under the thing. I'm not working in a silo. I have tangible impact that is valued. So now this takes us out of itemizing a list. This takes us out of how much money she may want to manifest or different things that she wants to experience or the things that even she may want to do with the money. But as a result of that shift, a powerful demonstration occurred. And she continued, she said, I received a National Teaching Award, the Harriet Ball Teaching Award, and a $10,000 check. Right? In our masterclass this summer, Open Your Mind to Prosperity, we talked about really this third condition of asking in a specific way. Catherine Ponder calls it the divine plan. This is another familiar way to understand the third condition. Catherine Ponder calls this the easy way to bring prosperity into your life because the divine plan includes health, happiness, abundance, and perfect self-expression. And I recall as we went through that chapter this summer, it was something that kind of sparked a number of you, and it turned on light bulbs, because many times you can find difficulty in not really knowing what you want, or being afraid that you asked for the wrong thing. And so affirming the divine plan includes everything, and kind of takes your mind off of trying to manifest a specific dollar amount. It takes your mind off of trying to manifest specific attributes in a lover. It can take your mind off of trying to manifest specific attributes of a home. The divine plan includes health, happiness, abundance, and perfect self-expression. So as you may recall, the 12 conditions of a miracle is based on what Todd Michael calls the Alpha passage. And it's the story of the loaves and fishes from Matthew 14, that miracle of the loaves and fishes. And of course, what we understand as we are using this reading and using this specific lens and hermeneutic through this book is that this miracle story is a code. Right? We can go and do likewise when we understand the 12 conditions that were applied within this story. So where we are now in the Alpha passage is Matthew 14, verses 15 through 16, and I'm reading from the New Revised Standard Version. When it was evening, the disciples came to him, Jesus, and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." So what is this third condition asking? This passage makes it very clear. And also this passage teaches us something very powerful, something that we teach and talk about all the time as a New Thought principle. The disciples recognized a need. The place was deserted, the hour was late, the people were hungry and needed to be fed. And the way Todd Michael puts this in the book is very succinct. Information about what was needed was put into words and effectively communicated. So then asking, this is my definition, is the recognition and communication of a need, desire, want, goal, or dream. I'm going to say that again, and you're going to hear me say it several times, but I want you to be able to get it into your notes. Asking, this third condition, and the practice of asking is the recognition and communication of a need, desire, want, goal, or dream. You hear me say, and you hear PY say often, that in affirmative prayer, we don't beg God. We don't barter with God. We don't beseech God. You hear me say we don't make deals with God, which is how many of us have been taught to relate to God, how many of us have been taught to pray. But this is what asking is. What asking is the recognition and communication of a need, desire, want, goal, or dream. And you all may recall the scripture. It's a famous scripture, James 4. You have not because you ask not. That's James 4:2. And so we recognize that asking is necessary, but it's important that we understand what asking is, because what many of you have been doing or have been taught to do is to beg, is to hope, is to wish, is to make deals with God. We see it all the time. Those of you that have been in the affirmative prayer mastermind with me, you know I talk about it. We see it in movie after movie, television show after television show. Somebody gets in trouble, their back is against the wall, there's something that they want, and they decide to pray. And immediately it turns into this making a deal with God, like, oh God, if you will show up and heal my mother, or if you will show up and help me get through this scenario, then, you know, I'll come to church next week. That's not what asking is. Thus, that's not what praying is. Again, asking is the recognition and the communication of a need, desire, want, goal, or dream, just as the disciples did. There was a recognition, and I love how succinctly Todd Michael puts it. Information about what was needed was put into words and effectively communicated. Oh my goodness, that takes so much of the woo woo out of the process. It takes so much out of the trying to act holy, and that takes so much of you ain't got to burn incense. You don't need special crystals, right? You don't need holy oil. You don't need to wear white. You don't need to do any of those things to practice this condition. Asking is necessary, needed, and important, but we got to understand what asking truly is. And I know sometimes you do not know what you really want. I know sometimes you're afraid to ask for the wrong thing. Sometimes you're worried about how you will be perceived or what other people will say based on what you're asking for. I know sometimes you're worried about making the same mistakes that you made in the past, but with a past manifestation because you thought it was good, but it turned out to be really, really bad. I've experienced that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But you can raise your hand, you can shout yourself out, yes, yes, if you've had that experience. But take heart, beautiful soul, because the third condition, asking, takes all of this into account and makes it very easy for you. Again, what is asking? I told you I'm going to keep repeating this. Asking is the recognition and communication of a need, desire, want, goal, or dream. So then the question becomes, how do I ask? And the question becomes, how do I ask and actually get results? So there's three things we're going to look at. This is very, very clear, very easy, very simple. Just three things. The first is put your request in words. And Todd Michael writes this in 12 Conditions of a Miracle. Thoughts, like water vapor, are intangible. In order to make water vapor solid, it must first be condensed into liquid form. Only then can the resultant liquid be frozen into a solid. Y'all get that, right? You understand that, right? We know that there's water vapor all around us in the air, right? And we know it can condense. We see it condense on a cold glass, for instance, right? Now, we recognize that although that water vapor exists, it's vaporized, it's in a gaseous state, and we know that it can become solid ice, it has to first be liquid before it can become solid. So he goes on, when manifesting a dream, the first step is to condense the thought forms of your dreams into words. Just like the water vapor, the gas must be turned to liquid. This is what you're doing. You have your thoughts and your ideas. Turning them to words is turning them to liquid. This forces you to be very clear about what is desired. And so then Todd Michael breaks this into two steps, because this forming into liquid is speaking and then writing. Speaking, then writing down your ask is like turning water vapor into liquid. The demonstration and the manifestation of your ask is the turning of that water, your thoughts and your ideas that have now been spoken and written down, into solid ice, or your physical manifestation. Take a breath. I want you to sit with this for a minute, because I think this is such a powerful analogy. See, we're so used to doing these things because we've heard it over and over again, right? Or we just think, oh, well, this is just what you do, right? Yeah, you got to write down your vision. You got to write it down. Well, PY and PG said, write it down, so I'm writing it down. The Secret said to write it down when I watched The Secret, so I'm writing it down. Abraham Hicks said to write it down, so I'm writing it down. This teacher said, right, everybody, this is what we do. We write it down. If you want to manifest, you got to write it down, but we don't understand what's actually going on. And so that's why I want you to really hear this. Because we can do things by rote, and we can do this in a way that we have habits without meaning. But this is giving meaning to your habit, which then infuses it with power. You may be doing your 5 minutes of affirmative journaling every day, but it's just become something that you're doing. It's become just a rote habit, and you don't understand that what you're doing is you're taking the water vapor of thoughts and ideas. The water vapor of thoughts and ideas, the gas, and you're turning it into liquid form, right? And that's a step to get you somewhere else, because the gas has to be turned to liquid so it can go to solid. Yes, yes. You can't go from thought, idea, gas directly to solid. See, that's what some of y'all are doing. That's why I said this thing teaches. Some of y'all don't understand why you haven't manifested what it is that you're trying to manifest, why you haven't demonstrated what it is that you're trying to demonstrate, because you're still in the realm of thought and ideas, and you actually haven't turned it into liquid form so that it can then be turned into ice or your manifestation. Speaking, then writing down your ask is like turning water vapor to liquid. The demonstration and manifestation of your ask is like turning water to solid. This is how you make the invisible visible. This is how you make the intangible tangible. This is how you move from the non-physical realm of ideas that is beyond what we can see, taste, touch, or smell into the physical, which is the realm that we can see, taste, touch, and smell. So the first step is to speak and then write. The second step then is to focus on the essence of your dream. Todd Michael writes this: what is the spirit beneath the things you desire? What feelings, what experiences are you really hoping to achieve? Make it a habit to ask yourself over and over, what is it that I really want? Write your description of the essence on a piece of paper, place it in a prominent place, and read it frequently. So, of course, we recognize, why is it important to do that? Why is it important to place it somewhere where you can see it, right? Well, because out of sight, out of mind, right? Because we recognize that we are inundated with so much information that if we're not putting the things that we truly want to be, do, and have in our space, and in spaces where we're going to constantly encounter them, then we're just going to be constantly encountering the algorithm of YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. But what's most important here, as I said earlier, the third condition, asking, is the thing under the thing, the essence of your dream. That's always what you're really manifesting, right? And so we start out, we have these thoughts, these ideas. I want a house, I want a car, I want a lover, I want this, I want that, I want money, whatever the things may be. And it's fine, it's good to want things. But the truth is, that's not the manifestation, and that's where we get tripped up, because things come and go. Things will always depreciate. So we are looking for that which is eternal. And so that's why I shared the story there. Again, one of the members of Soul 21 shifted her list to focus on her thing under the thing, and then manifested something powerful, manifested the essence of her dream. In the book, Ask It, It Is Given, Abraham Hicks, Esther and Jerry Hicks, but Abraham writes this: why you want something defines the essence of what you want. The universe always delivers to you the vibrational essence of your desire. That's what you're actually always really receiving. So it makes sense then to understand what the essence is. If that is how God, source, the universe actually works, it provides the essence of what we desire. So we must learn to focus on the essence and not get bogged down in the specifics, not get bogged down in treating life and treating God and treating source and treating the universe like it's Santa Claus, like we did when we were kids. I don't know about you, but I used to have that book. Shout out to the old school days of the Sears Wish Book. Couldn't wait for that to come in the house. And my sister and I, we would lay down on the living room floor, and just go through the pages and make our lists, or, dog ear certain pages, right? Believing that we were going to get everything that we put on the list. But then this is how we treat life. This is how we treat God. This is how we treat source. And that ain't it, y'all. God doesn't operate in specifics. It operates in vibrational essence. So it's important that we learn how to name the essence of our dream, and then ultimately focus on the essence of our dreams. You may initially have a what I want list, and that's good. That's your starting point. That's your starting place. Absolutely. Please hear that. This message is not designed to get you to stop outlining the things that you want in that way. Just know that that's your starting point. The next step is to ask yourself why you want it. The next step is to tap into your thing under the thing. What is underneath the desire? What experience will it provide? What feelings will you experience as a result? This is the essence of your dream. I use the example, I posted a video on social over the past couple of weeks of if you have a money goal, that money goal, say it's $10,000, right? And if you were working with me directly, then I would ask you, okay, well, tell me about this goal. What's underneath it? What's the desire? And you could say to me, oh, well, this is $10,000 is for a down payment on a car. And you might think that that's your thing under the thing, but that's not even the thing under the thing. Because the thing under the thing is what the car is going to provide. And I say that in that video, like, where are you going to go? What is this car going to allow you to be able to drive to a job that you can't currently get now because you can't drive there? What kind of road trips are you going to be taking? Will you be spending time with family or going to see family? Will this car help you take your grandmother to her doctor's appointments? See, that's your thing under the thing. It's not even just the car. It's all of those other things, which of course are experiences. And then you can start to relay feelings. You can tap into the feeling tone of what that is, right? You would be a proud grandchild that you were able to serve and support your grandmother in this way, who has loved you and supported you in so many ways, right? And so then that's the thing under the thing. You're not even thinking about $10,000. And then you manifest the money in the car easily and effortlessly. And here's the other thing. It is so much easier to focus on the essence rather than the specific. Because focusing on the specific, what it does for so many people, and I've seen it over and over again, it'll have you worried. Because if you're focused on the $10,000, then you're always looking at your bank account, and your bank account is not showing you $10,000, and you may get an unexpected bill, and so now you got to pay this bill, and it's like, well, Lord, I feel like I'm spending more than I'm receiving, and I'm focused on trying to receive. It's gonna have you panicked if you set a timeline and you say, I want 10,000 in 12 weeks, and you're at the 10th or the 11th week, and it still hasn't happened. It's gonna have you fearful, and worst of all, you're going to block your blessings because of the energy that you're in. But when you focus on the essence of your dream, you're putting your energetic frequency in that space of those things that feel good. Right? Abraham Hicks says that anything that we want because we think we will feel good in the having of them. So the trick is to feel good now. And so the feeling good now from this place, you're not gaslighting yourself. Again, in the example that I use, you really want $10,000 and you really want to use that for a down payment on a car. Cool, we know that. But this is how you get there. Why? Because the universe, God's source, responds and provides the vibrational essence of a desire. The other thing is, I see this play out all the time. To use another example, I'm in somebody's business right now, in romantic relationships. And shout out to my fellow fans. Y'all know I love Married at First Sight. I love Love is Blind. Lord have mercy. Just started caught up on Love is Blind France. Doesn't matter if you're in France, the United Kingdom, Brazil, or the United States. This stuff plays out the same way every time. Because people come into these experiences with these overly specified lists instead of the essence. And so what happens is they don't even get to see, although particularly in the case of Married at First Sight, right, the experts have vetted these people and tried to get an understanding of their essence. And so that's how they're choosing their partners. But they don't even give them a chance to see the essence, because immediately they're like, oh no, they don't check these 10 boxes that I have. And I'm telling you, it's much easier to manifest the lover that you truly want if you put the focus of your attention on the essence and move away from the Santa Claus list of specifics. The third thing, I'm almost done. We talked about first, put your request into words. Speak it, then write it. Okay. Then the second one is to focus on the essence of your dream. The third one is to ask yourself the question, who will benefit? And this connects us back to the first condition and the second condition. This keeps coming up because it's such an important piece of the puzzle. And as I have shared many times, when you can name and understand who will benefit as a result of your desire beyond yourself, you've actually maximized your dream, your goal, your miracle. And Todd Michael writes this in the text. He's very specific. He says, carefully avoid asking for things that will benefit only you. The request of a true miracle worker always includes others. The more unselfish the request, the more will be provided to enact your miracle. Now let's just go back to the Alpha passage. Think about it. If the people were hungry because they were in a deserted place, the disciples were hungry too because they were in a deserted place. What? No food. Notice that their requests and their effective communication wasn't Jesus or / master, which they should call him a rabbi, teacher. We hungry. Can we go back to the town so we could get something to eat? Right? They were including themselves, but they made their request known thinking about the people. In the Affirmative Prayer Mastermind, and shout out for those that have been a part of the mastermind, I always share this in class, that one of the reasons that the process is so powerfully effective that I walk you through in that course is that it is oftentimes easier to believe for someone else than it is for yourself. And so naming who will benefit and how they will benefit makes use of this human instinct. And so I want to use a personal and specific example, right? So at the beginning of this year, or really last year, as I was coming into this year, one of my goals was to release weight, to release 30 pounds in 3 months, right? And to normalize my blood pressure. Now, of course, I accomplished that easily and effortlessly within the time, and I'm still releasing weight and gaining muscle, and it's a wonderful experience. But in this example, who will benefit? And I want to name this because this doesn't have to be so huge and magnanimous like feed the world, right? Or I don't know, my whole country benefits, or my whole community, all Black people benefit because of my manifestation, right? In this case, first, who will benefit? Well, my family and my loved ones. Right? Because as I am allowing prosperity as radiant health, that means that PY, that means that my daughter, they will have me in their life, right? For a much longer time, because I've reduced my mortality risk, right? In things that I can do, right? There's other, accidents or whatever, things that are outside of our control, but this is something that's within my control, right? So they benefit, right? By not having to move through me leaving the earth prematurely. Right? Who will benefit? All of you will benefit, right? By demonstrating radiant health, I'm here to continue to love, to teach, to guide as we continue to walk this walk together, right? Who will benefit? This is an interesting one. I was thinking about this in the shower. It's not in my notes. One of the things that I did in terms of my weight release journey, right? There's certain apps that I started to use. There's certain, I joined the Y. I decided to learn how to swim and join the Y. So that was an expense that I didn't have last year or prior years. And so as I'm paying my monthly fee to the YMCA, that means that all the people that are employed by the Y are benefiting, because that membership fee that I'm paying supports the facility. It also pays people's salaries. And of course, the people that are employed in their salaries, that then ripples out into their families and all of the things that they need to do, right? So the who will benefit, you can easily start to think about who it is. It's not that it has to be the whole world. It's not that, it has to be some huge philanthropic type of who will benefit, but it is important that you can name and see beyond yourself. And one of the beautiful things about that is when you can see beyond yourself and when you can put the focus of your attention on who will benefit, you actually make it much easier for you then to manifest it, because then it's a strange phenomena, right? But it's something that's a part of the human instinct, that when we even, sometimes this is why we have accountability partners, right? When you don't want to let somebody else down, right? That's sometimes what has you get up in the morning. That's the thing that has you, move forward when you didn't want to move forward. That's the thing that has you, get on that treadmill when you wouldn't have gotten on that treadmill before. And so we're making use of this human instinct, which is really rooted in the fact that we're all connected, right? And again, this is why this goes back to emptiness, which is about connecting to God. I didn't even think about it. I wore this shirt and it speaks to that, right? Love God, that's the connect, right? Then love you, right? Then you can love people out of that connection, right? So that's what's happening. And so I want to close with this. In the 12 Conditions of a Miracle, Todd Michael writes these words. Focus on how you want to feel, not on what thing you desire. Say that again. Focus on what you want to feel, not on what thing you desire. That's what asking is about. That's what this condition is about. And then later in the text, he writes, although only you can decide what feelings you want to set up as goals, the following is excellent advice. Strongly consider including feelings of fun, happiness, relaxation, love, generosity, gratitude, and freedom in all of your requests. This is why I love to affirm what complete prosperity is: happiness, radiant health, success, and money. If I'm not happy and I'm not healthy, I'm not going to enjoy the success that brings me money. Happiness includes so many things: happiness in my relationships, happiness in my body, right? And on and on. Of course, radiant health, that's not just health of my body, it's health of my mind, it's health of my relationships. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. Success in every area of my life. And of course, we ain't afraid of money. We love money, right? And we recognize that money is needed and necessary and available in abundance. And so as you're affirming, whether you want to affirm the divine plan, which it aligns so beautifully, but what does Catherine Ponder say the divine plan includes? Health, happiness, abundance, perfect self-expression. What is this list that Todd Michael just gave us? Fun, happiness, relaxation, love, generosity, gratitude, and freedom. And if you begin to affirm that and write that, even in your daily writing, what do I want to bring into my life? I want to bring fun, happiness, relaxation, love, generosity, gratitude, and freedom. And you recognize and understand what it is that you're working with. The mind that knows all, that knows more than you know, even beyond your wildest dreams. I love that translation in the Message Bible: exceedingly and abundantly above all you could ask or think. It says even beyond your wildest dreams. That thing, oh yeah, I trust that. So yeah, source, which does exceedingly and abundantly above all I could ask or think in my wildest dreams. Yeah, bring me fun. Bring me happiness. Bring me relaxation beyond what I can think. I think I know what relaxation is. I think I know what self-care is. Love, generosity, gratitude, and freedom. This is your thing under the thing. This is the essence of all things. Remember, the universe delivers to you the essence of your dream. So focus on the essence of your dream. Practical application. Take some time this week. And when I say take some time, it's not a suggestion. Pull out your calendars right now. Schedule it and put it in. If you want some accountability, you can put the date and time in the comments to hold yourself accountable. Give yourself 30 to 45 minutes and look at your plans, look at your goals, look at your dreams for the remainder of 2025, and ask yourself these questions. Uncover the why behind your desire. Why do I want this thing? When I receive this thing, what will I experience? How will I feel? Because that's what I'm after. That's what I'm really demonstrating. That's what I'm really manifesting. Name the spirit beneath the desire. Identify the essence of your plans, goals, and dreams for 2025 and put your focus there. This is why A Course in Miracles teaches us that a healed mind doesn't plan. Because if the focus of your attention is on the essence, what need is there to plan when you know that you will always be provided for? What need is there to truly plan in the way that we do as humans? Because that planning is micromanaging and trying to be God in our lives. I'm so excited to hear about and witness the miraculous demonstrations that come as a result of your asking, that come as a result of you focusing on the essence of your dream. And for this truth, I am so very grateful. And to this truth, the word that has been spoken, I say, amen, Ashe. And so it is.